That's the point of it all. No one's miserable and everyone actually gets to enjoy what they do. Hey, what's up, everybody? So today I'm talking about how to build trust in the team that you're trying to develop. Trust is really kind of one of the biggest variables that kind of determine what's a high performance team versus what's a team that's just really a group of people who happen to work together, but they don't really produce any special output that would signify that they work well together. So when it comes to trust, in my opinion, trust kind of breaks down to do two different things that are going on with your team and your team's culture. One, when it comes to trust, it's really based off of predictability. How accurately can you predict someone's behavior or their reaction or their opinion or something based on a circumstance based off of what you've seen with them historically in the past? So for example, if I work with Sarah and Sarah is a huge Twins baseball fan, and over the last year, every single time that the Twins have played and lost, Sarah's come in and she's been super depressed. She's been a little snappy with people and just kind of in a bad mood. If that's what I saw, on 12 different occasions last year, this year when baseball season starts up, and if I look at the news and it's like, the Twins lost last night, if I can predict how Sarah's going to be today when I work with her, that helps me develop a level of trust because I know how she's going to act. I trust that she's going to come in moody. I trust that she's going to come in with a little bit of an attitude. I trust that she's not going to be in a great mood today because that's what I've seen from her in the past. Now, on the flip side, let's say if when the Twins baseball team wins, Sarah comes in, she's super happy, she's really peppy, she's wanting to socialize with everyone, she's super pleasant and fun to be around, and she's just a great time. When I see the night before, the Twins win, I bet that Sarah's going to come in tomorrow and she's going to be awesome, she's going to be ecstatic, she'll bring food for people, she'll be really, really supportive, etc. When I go into work the next day and Sarah comes and she does that exact same thing that I was predicting, that's going to make me super happy because one, I was able to predict it based off of what I've seen from her in the past, which to me means that I must know her pretty well if I'm able to predict her behavior that accurately. And two, it kind of helps me build trust with her because I know how she's going to react. I know that this is the day that she's going to be supportive. I know that this is the day that she's going to, be really chatty and social with everyone. I know that this is the day that she's going to, go above and beyond to help people. When I can predict that out of her and when I can see it consistently, that's how it's a part of how trust is developed. Again, I know that there are some people who are pretty big into sports, but look at it more professionally. Let's say if you have a supervisor, and historically, every single time that someone on that supervisor's team has hit a wall or they've come to issue that they can't fix themselves, if you are used to your supervisor coming in and giving you a crap ton of support and helping you problem solve because they want to see you succeed and do well on this project, if you can accurately predict that type of behavior, it's going to make you more likely to trust that person because you know what they're going to do when you run into a problem. You know that they care about your success. You know that they want you to succeed and they want you to be happy at work. And that really kind of helps develop trust. Now, on the other side, if you have someone who's just notoriously crabby and a pain in the ass to work with, that's going to develop trust, but not in a good way. You're going to trust in your ability to predict that they're going to be an asshole, or you're going to trust that you're not going to want to work with them because of their past behavior. So trust isn't necessarily, again, that version of trust is very much tailored to predictability. How predictable is this person? So when you're showing your team constant support and they can kind of predict what your routines are going to be when certain situations come up, that makes it a lot easier to trust you because they know what you're going to do. Now, when you're working with people who are not consistent and they're just all over the place with their reactions, Monday they're great, Tuesday they're awful, Wednesday, they weren't even there. Thursday, they dropped the ball on half their projects. If you can never predict what someone's going to be like, what type of reaction they're going to have, if you can actually count on them or not, that makes it super, super difficult to trust them, because you just can't predict what they're going to do. Like, you can't trust someone with your phone when one day they held onto it and they were responsible, and the other day they whipped it across the street just for fun. Like, you're not going to trust that person because you don't know what they're going to do. So inconsistency breeds mistrust. Consistency leads to a certain level of trust. So identify what you want your team to be able to predict for you. If I want my team to know that I'm supportive, that I care about them, that they are important to me, I want to display that behavior every single chance that I get, so that it becomes so ingrained in their head that they're able to predict it. When they can predict it, they'll trust me because they have it ingrained in their head that, hey, you do this so frequently that I can predict it with accuracy, which makes me trust you because I actually know what you're going to do. So like I said, predictability is one side of trust. The other side, when it comes to developing, so that was more behavioral trust, when you can kind of predict behaviors. When it comes to emotional trust, that is really kind of seated in vulnerability and support. So let's just start off with vulnerability. General definition of vulnerability is information or something that could potentially be harmful for you. So let's say if I stole a lot of money back in my teenage years and I had, charges pressed against me, that's information that could potentially be used against me now. So I'm not going to share that information with anybody because, HR could, pull me in and fire me because I have, theft charges, or my coworkers might not trust me around their stuff because they think I might steal it. Similar, let's say if I have a child who passed away and I know that that's a very emotional sensitivity for me, and I know that if someone talks about it, it's going to emotionally damage me. So I don't bring that to work. I don't let people know that. Because if they bring it up in a good way or a bad way, I know that it's still super, super hurtful for me, and it's going to just break me down, and I know that I can't deal with that at work. So I'm not going to share that vulnerability with people because I don't know how they're going to handle it, and I don't know how hard it's going to affect me. And so not sharing vulnerabilities is something that people do instinctively. It's evolutionary. It's natural to hide your weaknesses so that things that could be, your potential prey don't harm you. No one typically walks out and is like, hey everyone, just so everyone knows my weaknesses, I can't do A, B, and C. I'm really scared about D, E, and F, yada, 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 because that is potential ammo that could be used against you. And so a lot of people, again, don't like to share their vulnerabilities because they don't trust the people they're sharing their vulnerabilities with, to not use it to potentially hurt them. So when you're forming a team, or if you already have a team and you're trying to get your team to trust each other, exposing vulnerabilities and meeting those vulnerabilities with support is really the best way to develop that emotional trust. It's something that's going to, again, drive against your every instinct because you're going to be like, no, we don't share vulnerabilities. We don't let them know where our weak spots are. Because they could use this to get us fired. They could use us to, talk poorly about us behind our back and kick us out of the social circle. They could hold on to this until the next time I screw up, and then they're just going to dump more fuel on the fire. And if that's the way that you think about your team, then you clearly don't trust your team, and then you need to ask yourself, is your team the right spot for you? Because why would you want to work with a group of people you absolutely don't trust with something like that? If you're leading a team and you're noticing that there are specific people who absolutely don't trust you or the rest of the team, you need to really look on if that's someone who you would want on your team, because, again, it's really difficult to trust a specific team member when they know that they absolutely would not trust you. And that can definitely be the downfall to a lot of teams. So let's just get into the practicality of it. How does vulnerability and support work? So let's start in the two extremes. Let's say if there's a leader of a team and she walks in and she's like happy, preppy. Oh, hey guys, everything's perfect in my life. Kids are great, spouse is great, my work is going great, my life is going great. There is not a gray cloud in the sky. Fucking everything is perfect. How about you? Now, obviously, people might have periods in their time where everything's good, but no one has a perfect life. No one has, no issues whatsoever. So, naturally, when you see someone coming in like that, you're going to assume that they're full of shit. That they're just putting on a facade and masking their vulnerabilities. Because no one's life is perfect. So if you have someone coming in saying, oh yeah, everything's perfect, no complaints here, like, it's difficult to trust that person because you feel like they're not being honest with you because they're not sharing their vulnerabilities. So that is how mistrust gets geared towards specific people when they're not going to be honest about their vulnerabilities. I mean, even just saying, like, oh, things aren't really great right now and I don't really want to talk about it. You're not sharing any details of your vulnerabilities, but you're letting people know that, hey, Josh's life isn't perfect. That's real. That's human. I can relate to that. I understand that. Josh is not a robot. But if you have someone come in and they're like, oh yeah, everything's perfect, you're like, that person's full of shit. I don't trust that at all because it's not true. It's not human. They're robotic. So don't walk into your team pretending like everything is perfect, because it's not. And if you think it is, then you really need to take a step back and get a better grasp of everything that's going on with your team and your life and your work. So, I mean, that's like a don't. Don't pretend like everything's peachy when it's not. Second, when it comes to actually sharing vulnerability, I'm not saying that you jump into the deep end. I'm not saying that your first day on a team, you say, oh, hey, I lost my parents when I was 6 years old, and that was really, really traumatic for me. Because that's a little bit much. That's hard for people to process. I'm not saying that, you walk in to your team after 2 weeks and say, oh yeah, a year ago, my husband cheated on me, and I'm still not over it. And it still causes me a lot of pain and struggle every single day. Because again, that's just kind of, it has no context, and it's a very, very strong bit of information to share. And a lot of the times the people won't know how to respond to it, so it's going to make people uncomfortable. I'm not saying do that. I'm not saying walk in and dump all your dirty laundry out on the table for everyone to see right away. Because again, that can be quite a bit. That can be a little much. I would definitely say start off with sharing small vulnerabilities with people. Whatever you feel comfortable with. It can be small, like, oh hey, I don't know if I did the best job on this last project that I did, so I'm kind of concerned that people might not like it. Or hey, Bill and I haven't really been talking a whole lot lately. I'm concerned that, he might not like me anymore and he might not want to work with me. Or, hey, I've never worked with, Stacy before. I'm really kind of nervous because I don't know if she's going to respond to my, style and my methods or not. Small things like that. They're not groundbreaking. It can't be used against you really. Like, oh, Bill is nervous about his presentation. Let's fire him. That's not something that's going to happen. That's natural. But that's a small exposure of vulnerability. You're saying, hey, this is something that makes me uncomfortable. Let me put it out there to my team and see how they respond. Your team's going to respond one of two ways. One, they're going to blow you off and just not care. And they'll say, oh, neat, and then they'll go back to work. If you do that, you're naturally going to think, oh, well then fuck you too. You're not going to want to work with those people because you put yourself out there, you shared some vulnerability, and they couldn't care less about it. So that's going to really kind of dishearten the trust levels of you and your team. Same time, pay attention to that, because if you're someone and you're working on a team and someone decides to share a little bit of vulnerability with you, if you dismiss it, they're not going to trust you. They're not going to want to... I mean, in your mind, you're probably thinking, okay, here comes Bill again. I don't want to deal with Bill's personal problems. And you can tell him that, like, hey, Bill, I really don't feel super comfortable dealing with or receiving your personal problems like this when I'm at work, especially when I'm trying to focus on a project. You even telling him that you're not comfortable with that is you sharing vulnerability, and then you can see how he responds. But if Bill shares something with you and you are just super dismissive and you're just like, oh, well, that sucks. I'm going to get back to work now. Bill's going to see that, okay, I shared a vulnerability and that person didn't want to support or help me or even tell me, it'll be okay. That's clearly not someone I can trust because they don't care about me. So really keep an eye out for when your teams are sharing vulnerability points and identify when people are not responding to them. You can call your team out and say, hey everybody, Bill just said that he's worried about this and we have not given him support in response to that. So let's do that right now as a team because supporting people is important. Do that. It might be an uncomfortable conversation, but it lets your team know the expectations and it kind of gives them a demonstration of what you want to see them when it comes to supporting each other. So like I said, sharing vulnerability is taking a step forward saying, I trust you, team, and your team offering you support back is your team saying, hey, we saw you were giving us trust and we want to repay that by trusting you and supporting you. So that's something like, me saying, hey, I'm really nervous about this presentation I'm going to give. And my teammate saying, oh, I'm sure it'll be okay. Let me take a look through it quick and I can give you any quick notes that stand out to me. I'm like, okay, I shared vulnerability. My team stepped up and they're going to help support me. That makes me feel fucking awesome. Yeah, the presentation's not super important. That doesn't matter. To me, emotionally, it was important, and this person decided to help me. That makes me trust them because they care about me. They're willing to take time out of their day to do something that doesn't benefit them, but actually benefits me, a member of their team. I trust that now. So that's really how trust in teams is developed. Sharing vulnerabilities with each other and offering support when you see that vulnerability. It sounds... When you listen to it on audio, it doesn't sound like a huge deal. It doesn't sound like a super important thing. It sounds like something that could be just easily dismissed because it's not groundbreakingly important. But it's one of the things that if you do consistently, day after day after day, that is how fantastically strong teams are developed. You can't overlook the small things that build trust. Trust isn't developed in, 2 or 3 major, events that happen. I mean, it can be, but 99.99999% of the time, it won't be. There's not going to be a situation where the building catches on fire, I'm trapped under some rubble, I'm at risk of death, Stacy climbs in through the window to save me, pulls me out, and now I trust Stacy for life. That might happen. Again, 99.99999% of the time, it won't. So if you want to develop good, significant, solid trust with your team, you have to exercise it like it's a muscle. Do a little bit every single day. You'll gradually work up more and more significant things, more and more significant support, and that's how the trust is built. That's how the trust is established. That's how the trust is maintained. Predictability, vulnerability, and support. Those are the foundations of trust. Do them consistently, day in and day out, and you will have a solid team. Thanks for watching. Hey, what's up everybody? I just want to thank you real quick for watching my content. I really, really appreciate it, and I hope that it's bringing you some value. I know this stuff is really good to hear, but you actually have to apply it to your workplace for the actual value to be there. So if you have any questions on how to do that, if you have any topics that I haven't covered that you want to learn more about, if you have some scenarios that you want some advice on, feel free to shoot me a message. I'd be more than happy to help people out with that. As well as if you watch the content and you're seeing value in it and you're actually interested in working with the Leadership 101 consulting company, I'll include my email in this video, as well as our website is thisisleadership101.com. Feel free to shoot us a message. We can set up a phone call or a meeting and just kind of talk about what issues are going on, what you're hoping that we can do to help out, and go from there. Thanks, everybody.